The standard, just
How's everything? I like your glasses. We'll put this also on the
All right, everyone, let's go ahead and get started. Have a seat. We're only 20 minutes late, not bad for Egyptian timing. Is the live stream going? Okay. All right, welcome everybody. This is the last of the series, and I hate to use a cliche, but we saved the best for last. This is Makar. He's a very good friend of mine, and he is absolutely amazing. You guys are really going to like his talk. I'm hyping him up. I'm building it up so that the expectations. No, I'm kidding. He's really a good friend and a really great guy, and just very wise, very practical advice. So please, listen carefully. Ask him lots of questions. And I just want to thank you all for coming, and hope you have a blessed rest of the Lent. And I'll take it. I'll let Makar take it from here.
All right. In the name of the Father, Son, the Holy Spirit, one God, amen. What's up, awesome people? It's so good to see you all. And I am very excited to talk about this topic because I had a talk like this prepared from years ago, and I redid a lot of the material, so based on a lot of experiences and things. So we had the series was being a man or a woman of God, break up baggage and true healing, marriage as a path to salvation, am I ready to date, and then how to know if a match is a good one, right? And so we're going to cover a lot of like deeper topics. I may not be able to tell you like, yes, this match is a good one, right? Because it's a lot of factors that you have to think about when assessing that. There's a lot of things you have to think about. So the first thing I want to tell you is I'm going to be saying this phrase, your team, and maybe you've heard this in other talks, maybe not said this way, your team, but everyone who's going through this process needs to have a team. Not just the team of the couple, but your own personal team, okay? People who are supporting you. They include God, a priest, trusted friends, family, a counselor or a therapist, oftentimes, but not necessarily, and your gut, right? I don't mean your physical gut, but just like kind of like your conscience. Like how comfortable do you feel? Because your gut is what you're gonna have with you when you get into a fight and you're in a room by yourself. You're gonna have your gut with you. And so your gut you need to be in touch with yourself. You need to be in tune with yourself. You need to know, how am I actually feeling? If I feel uncomfortable about something, I can't just keep going. I gotta figure out what to do. Family, I wanna say in parentheses, a lot of times. Most of the time, family is very helpful, but there are times when family is not. That's why we rely on a team, because we're going to get different perspectives. If you don't have these things on your team, I want you to ask yourself, and the counselor therapist is very, very good, but not necessary if everything's going fine and you're doing okay and you like to read and learn and all that stuff. But if you don't have one of these components on your team, I want you to ask yourself, why? Why don't I have that? Like, what's up with me setting up my own team? All right. So I want to tell you some realistic expectations around differences and the benefits of differences. Because sometimes we think that what you're trying to find in a dating relationship is you're trying to find basically a copy of yourself. And then every time you find out a difference, you're like shocked. Or you find out something new, you're shocked, and you're like, wait, what's going on? What happened? There will be differences, and some of them will be significant. Differences are not inherently a bad thing. Differences can point you to areas in which you can grow. They can point you to ways that you can enjoy life more and new ways of seeing God. This is really important. So when you see a difference or a new way of doing something in someone else, in your significant other, don't just rush and say, oh, that's not a good match, that's a mess, it's a red flag. Like I had someone older come to me, was telling me that they met this really nice woman and they had a great, dating was going great, blah, blah, blah. And then he found out some information about her career and what she was planning with her career. And it was just not typical. That's all it was. Like when I heard it, because I have experience, I've talked to many couples. In my head, I'm like, oh, this is fine. It's gonna be okay. But for him, he was like, this is not typical. Like, he didn't even say that word. He just said, you see what's going on with her career? And he was like, what do I do? Like, I didn't expect this. And he was about to go crazy. Like, it's a mess. I'm in a big mess. And I was like, hey, dude, just 1 second. Okay, just 1 second. Nothing you said is like bad. Nothing you said says anything bad about her character. Actually says good things about her character. And it's just not typical, but it's not bad. It's not bad. And as soon as we just started realizing that differences are not necessarily bad, and there's going to be many, many differences, then he started to become a lot more comfortable. Sometimes also the differences are showing you ways you can grow. Like I have a couple, one of them is very, very selective and thoughtful when they speak. The other one is not, is the opposite of that good thing. So, no, but you shouldn't, I'm not saying you should be, so anxious when you speak that you can't even get any, like, genuine, authentic word out in any moment. But at the same time, you can't be just saying everything that's on your mind. Stream of consciousness is like for God and your therapist, that's it, and your priest. Like, it's not for anyone, right? You gotta be thoughtful when you're speaking to your spouse eventually anyway. So, but sometimes, so these two, they're married. And they look, and I told them, I said, hey, actually, you could both learn from each other when it comes to this. Like one of you needs to, speak sooner, speak more, share more, express more. And the other one, maybe you need to like slow down a little bit because, and in these differences point you to ways in which you can grow. The goal of choosing a life partner is not to find someone who is exactly the same as you, but to find someone who is compatible with you. Compatible. Meaning you can flow together. You can do life together. You can get through this. You can work together, okay? But it's not the same as you. Remember, by the way, I just want to tell you something, my beloved brothers and sisters. You, me too, but just you, are not perfect. You're not perfect. You have flaws, right? I have flaws too. So I don't want to find someone who's exactly like me. That means I'm starting by looking. I want someone with my flaws. That's not right. I want someone who can, be by my side as I work through my flaws, right? So you're not going to find a perfect person. You're not going to find you. You're trying to find someone who's compatible with you. Think of it this way. These are the questions to ask. If you're like just trying to figure out, and you're in a relationship, you're trying to figure it out. The questions to ask are either, are we actually not compatible? Or should I be making some changes that would make us compatible? Let me say that again. Like if you feel like there's a difference, ask yourself, is this difference, are we actually not compatible? Is that what this is, that we're not compatible? Or should I be making some changes that would make us more compatible? I'm not saying a change just for the sake of the other person, but maybe you've been deferring or delaying a change that you should be making in your life. Maybe you have really bad work ethic. Maybe you're financially irresponsible. Maybe your spiritual life is in the dumps. Maybe you can't even spell God. Maybe you have issues. So we all have issues. But what if you worked on the thing that you should have been working on? Would that make you more compatible? A lot of times, yes. Because sometimes the reason why we're not compatible is because we're not ready to date, because there's things we need to work on in ourselves. But you date anyway, because it's really easy to find someone to date. That's not the problem. It's finding a compatible date that you could live with the rest of your life, right? So you enter into a dating relationship anyway, and then you start having trouble, and then you're like, oh, look, the other person is so busted, they're all messed up, and they this, they that, all this, that. And you're not saying, hey, can I grow in some way that actually could make this work out? That's why Jesus said, look at the plank in your own eye before you look at the speck in your brother's eye. Like, ask yourself, should I be making a change? Should I be making a change? Are you guys with me on that? Is everybody with me? You sure? Because it would be a tremendous loss if you go through this whole entire dating process, and you get married, and you have kids, and they leave you, and you get old, and then you die, and you made no growth in your life. That's not life. So every step of the way, you have to be asking yourself, is there an opportunity for me to grow here? I just got into an argument. And I love this because when I have some couples, by the time I get to see them, they are in deep conflict. They have said things that are going to take us months to get out of, to recover from, okay? But one of the things that really helps a lot is they tell, oh, we have this issue, blah, 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 and he said this and she said that, blah, blah. And I'm like, hey, what is something that you could have done differently? And they said, oh, yeah, I could have not raised my voice. I could have not made an assumption about what they intended. I was like, oh, and what about you? What did you do? Could you have done differently? And they say something. And then I surprise them. I say, hey, you know how you said you could do something differently? Can you apologize for that right now? And then all of a sudden, they start doing this thing that they've never done before or haven't done in a while, which is apologizing to each other because they're so busy fighting. So are we actually not compatible, or should I be making a change that would make us more compatible? But we never ask if the other should make changes. Like, I mean, you could think about it, but don't ever expect the other person to change. I'm just giving you like a little simple, rule. When you're in a relationship, do not expect the other person to change ever. Ever. What you see is what you get. That is the safest assumption to make. Whoever they are, what you're seeing, that's who they're going to be forever. Don't say, oh, when we get married, we're going to be more in love, and, then they're going to work on their temper. No, they're not going to work on their temper. Because now it's going to be harder to get rid of each other. Why work on your temper? What's the incentive, right? They may not do it. Or, she or he said they have a pornography addiction. But when we get married and we start having sex, the pornography addiction is going to go away. No, it's not going to go away like that, right? It's not. That's not how it works. Because pornography isn't about waiting to have sex. That's not what it is, right? It's about much deeper things, right? Is everybody with me so far? Are you guys bored or like good? Okay, all right. Maybe it's just a Sunday night, long weekend. I couldn't make my slides better because I had a funeral of a friend's dad in Florida yesterday. So I landed this wording and I didn't have time to make my slides pretty. So, all right. So how do you know yourself? You need to know yourself. How do you know yourself? Okay, this slide has 10 questions that are coming up. Given the sizes of the screens, they're going to be small text, but I'm going to say them all, okay? And this one slide is going to save you maybe 4 to 8 therapy sessions, okay? Like that slide. You go through the questions, but I want you to go, we're not going to do it right now, okay? It's not group therapy, but what I want you to do is I want you to go through these questions and get into it with yourself. Like, sit down, get your phone out of here, stare at a wall, say a prayer, make the sign of the cross, and put these questions in front of you and start thinking. Because there is no way to assess compatibility in something so significant without first having the facts. How can you assess compatibility if you don't have the facts? What are the facts? There are facts about you and facts about the other person, so you can then assess, are these facts compatible with each other? Isn't that so simple? I mean, it's not simple the doing it, but the concept is so simple, right? And so I'm going to tell you how to assess yourself and then how to think about the other person. Who are you and who is the other person? So the following 10 questions, you're not going to get to the end of the answers. Like, it might take you like 20, 30 years to get to the end of to get 100% of the answer. But I want you to be making significant progress on answering these questions. Like, I want you to have all of them kicked off. All of these questions are in the process of being answered in my life, okay? But I'm speaking from experience, so I'm not just telling you stuff I got from a textbook, all right? What did my family teach me or not teach me, or model or not model, about what healthy family life and married life looks like? What did my family model? What did they teach me? I love when I talk to premarital couples and we get onto the topic of sexual intimacy, and I say to them, hey, how did your parents express affection to each other? I asked that question. I would go, each partner answers the question. And maybe some of you I'm already seeing some facial expressions. It really helps when none of you can see each other, but I can see all of you. Some of you are already giving me some facial expressions like, what? Physical what? In my house? None of that was going on. I'm like, did your parents even make eye contact? And some of them are like, actually, I don't remember if my parents ever made eye contact. Did they hold each other's hand? Did they hug? Did dad or mom put their arm around the other one? And a lot of people are just saying, for a lot of people, it's no, I didn't see that. I didn't see that. Or if they saw it, the next question is, who initiated it most of the time? And the next question is, how did the other one respond? Because all of these things, the facial expressions I'm getting right now are the best, all right? So, and because all of that was teaching you something. It was modeling something for you. So what I want you to do, my beloved brothers and sisters, is ask yourself this question. What did my parents, what did my family model for me about what marriage and family life look like? You guys get the question? You guys got it? All right, good. The next one. What are the most significant experiences, good and bad, that I've had in my life, and how have they shaped me? I tell this story, sometimes you may have heard it. I was seeing this client, and she's in her mid-30s. When she was younger, her parents got divorced, and she was living with her mom. And then her mom, something happened, whatever, and then her mom just said this statement to her, which sounded not exactly, it didn't sound harmful, but it made a big effect on her, a big impact on her. Her mother said to her, don't ever wait for a man to do anything for you. Because the mom was divorced. You could just assume mom had issues and got divorced. So she says to her daughter, don't ever wait for a man to do anything for you. You know why I was seeing her as a client? Because her husband wasn't helping around the house. But then I got the husband in. You know why the husband wasn't helping? Because every time he tried to help, she jumped down his throat. You're not doing it fast enough. You're not this, you're not that, whatever. I should never wait for you to, I can't rely on you. I can't depend on you. Where did that start? Her mother created, it's kind of like an ontological trauma, like a philosophical trauma for her child. But her child never fixed it. Just grew up, became an adult, and now is just expecting men to not be reliable or dependable, right? And so what I want you to ask yourself, what are the significant experiences you've had? What if you're in a relationship in the past, someone betrayed you? Is that going to shape now everything you're doing going forward? Do you guys get the question? So I don't know your experiences, but I want you to think about them. How good of a support system have I been able to establish around myself, and what role do I have in that same system? Because you can't do life alone, and you cannot burden your significant other with all of you and all of your problems. Your significant other is not your savior, is not your therapist, they're not Jesus, right? They're eventually, if you get married, they should be a great person to do life with Christ as your foundation, right? Like you're compatible, you're gonna be happy, you support each other, you teach each other things, challenge each other, all that stuff. We'll come to that later. But do you have a support system? And did you establish that? And what role do you have in that system? These are all to know yourself, because you're trying to get the facts about yourself, the facts about the other person, so you can assess compatibility. But a lot of us don't know ourselves. What do I want to do for a living, at least in the medium term? And what is my current financial situation? I know, I don't think it was discussed here. I think I spoke one time to the college group about adulting and finances, and it was a great time. But actually, a lot of us, as in our adult lives, we don't know anything about finances, right? And I want you to learn something, because that's going to come up in a relationship, in a significant relationship, okay? What is the real status of my relationship with God, and what place does He have in my day-to-day life? Like, you need to come to terms with God, right? And I'm not saying like a Sunday school thing, right? I'm not trying to be cliche here, right? What is this? What's the deal? Like, I'm not telling you what your deal needs to be. Like, that's not the point of this talk. But just ask yourself the question, what's your deal with God? Like, do you love him or not? Do you think about him or not? Do you believe like he's involved in your life or not? Do you go to him for problems or not? Like, what, are you upset with him? Some people are so upset with God. And they don't even know how to deal with that because they feel guilty, but there's no one to talk to about that because anybody they talk to is going to tell them, no, how could you be upset with God? So they don't even know who to talk to about that. But it's okay to be upset with God as long as you're doing something to work through that. What things, if any, make me feel insecure and ashamed? This question, I wish there was like a sound effect coming after I said that question, like, or when it came up. It should have said ding, 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 like that one, right? This one is so important. We all have insecurities. We all are ashamed of something. You know, if you are ashamed of your body, imagine what are the different ways that can come out in a relationship. One of the ways could be an obsessive, like, seeking of affirmation physically. Maybe you could act out more sexually. Maybe you don't want to be seen, so you cover yourself up, like, more than you otherwise would. A lot of things to think about. What do you feel ashamed about? What do you feel insecure about? How well do I know my emotional state at any given time, and how constructively do I express my emotions? How are you feeling right now? Can anybody give me some emotion words? I know it's a personal question. I'm putting all of you on the spot. Let me get 3. How are you feeling right now? Yes? Called out? That's good. That was good, man. That was good. I feel like you were in a talk of mine before, and I loved your humor too. That's cool. What else? How do you feel? Let me just get. This is a very deep question, right? Actually, even thinking about answering it, it kind of exposes you, right? Like, what if one of you is feeling? What if you're feeling tired, fatigued, exhausted, burnt out? I just got a text from someone today that said, I'm feeling burnt out in every area of my life. So, how are you feeling? And how do you know, like, do you know your emotional state, and how do you express your emotions? This is probably the most common issue in relationships. The most common, like, the gate through which all other issues, you see, get to all other issues. You're trying to have a conversation, one of you is not in the right emotional state, you don't know how to express yourself well, and then the whole thing blows up. And then all it takes is, like, for that to happen twice in a row or 3 times in a row without recovering from the prior time, and your relationship's gonna be in a tough place. So you have to learn about your emotions. By the way, I didn't get any answers. I just want you to know that. I haven't lost track of that, okay? Just saying, because the next time I ask a question, you guys will answer. How aware am I of my body and my health? I know we don't talk about that a lot in church, but are you physically healthy? And that's very, very important because it's going to affect a lot of things when you get married. Am I enslaved to anything? Think of any addiction, any bad habit, any sin, any group of people. Sometimes what I'm enslaved to is certain people's opinions. Maybe it's my parents' opinions. Maybe it's friends' opinions. Maybe I'm overly loyal to a friend I've had for so long, but that friend is messing my life up. We've actually grown apart, but I'm forcing us to stay together. What are you enslaved to? What are the unspoken rules or expectations that I have about being in a relationship, being married, and being a sexual being? Like, what are your expectations? What do you think? So you will always be gaining more insight into the answers to these questions through reflection, education, experiences, but you need to be making progress. So the reason why I'm saying this is because it takes a long time to answer these questions, and part of the answer to each of these questions comes through your experiences, comes through relationships. And I hope it was discussed earlier in the series that there's a twofold purpose in dating, a twofold purpose. The main purpose is learning about yourself. The second purpose is finding out who you're going to marry, okay? But if you're not coming in with this expectation to learn about yourself, it's all just going to be messed up. All right. Are we taking questions at the end? Is that what we're doing? Okay, that's so awesome. I love that. All right, guys, please, I can't wait to hear your questions. I'm going to be so excited. All right. Now I want to talk about the next important thing. By the way, this is like a very mature topic. Like the content is for a more mature audience, okay? Healthy flexibility. The word flexibility, or the word flexible, is one of the most important words in doing relationships. And I love reminding people of that because some of us, you know, I'll give you just a simple example. This is so simple. You know, you ever go on like a retreat or something, and you're sharing a room with your friends, right? With some of your friends. Or you go on a trip with your friends and you're sharing a room. And then, you know, you get in there and it's like there's 2 queen beds or whatever, and one of you sits on one bed, other sits on the other bed, and then you put your stuff out in the bathroom and you unpack. And then your friend just puts like their toothpaste like in like some weird spot and puts their brush in the other spot. And you're just like, oh, I didn't even know my friend lives like that. Like, that's so weird. Like, oh, whatever, didn't know. But it's only 3 days, you know, it's only 2 nights. Like, we're going to be out the room most of the time, outside the room most of the time. Who cares, you know, whatever. Plus, they're my friends, like, whatever. And you just let it go. You just let it go. But when you get married, it's going to be, oh, toothpaste, you put it here? That's for the rest of my life. No chance, right? And you jump, you go, that's not how you put toothpaste in the bathroom, okay? The way you put it, you're supposed to put it on this side, obviously, right? But this stuff happens all the time. What if I know a woman, she cannot go to sleep unless the dishes are all washed and the sink is empty. She can't go to sleep. It doesn't matter how tired she is. Nothing matters. It doesn't matter. She cannot go to sleep. Now, what if she one day gets sick and actually physically can't wash the dishes that night? What, do we say, oh, the husband needs to do it? That's the easy answer. But isn't there also a scenario where she just says, all right, we'll do it tomorrow? Some of you were like, didn't even think about that scenario. No, some of you it didn't even go through your mind that maybe I could just be flexible. You got to be flexible. You're going to need to be flexible because maybe you're early on in your relationship with your significant other and things are going fine. And then you're going to meet their family. And you gotta love and respect everyone, right? And you know, you're not trying to mess up future in-law relationships, right? You got to see what's going on, and you're going to find all these personalities and all these uncles and aunts and cousins and all this stuff, and no one's the same, and you got to be flexible. You got to see what's going on. Flexibility is a very important skill in life in general. Even in the corporate, even my part of my professional life, you know, sometimes you're going to go give a presentation, and you don't know. You don't know what the audience is going to throw at you, what questions they're going to ask. You're supposed to do your job, prepare for all the questions, anticipate everything, be prepared. You're supposed to know at least 1 or 2 levels of detail deeper than what you're presenting, all that stuff. But you don't know what's going to happen, right? And you got to be flexible. In something as serious as choosing your life partner, I encourage you to consult your team when you're deciding if you should be flexible about an issue. When should you consider being flexible? And I want to just give you I want to answer this question. When should you consider being flexible on an issue? When you are potentially in the wrong. And I want you, please, like, I'll just give you a simple life hack, okay? Like, just simple. If you feel, you know when I say digging your heels into the ground? When I say digging your heels into the ground, you know what that means? Like, it's like, imagine like someone is like, oh no, I think we should do that. And you're going back and forth, and then it's as if like you dig your heels in the ground, like you firm up that same position. You get firmer in that position. You're like, no, I'm not, right? And that's why we tell parents, like, don't argue with your kids too much, because if you keep arguing with them, they're just going to become stubborn, right? Like, just chill out. Like, don't argue with your kids. There's no reason to argue with your kids. If you already know they're going to say no, like, why do you keep arguing? Like, they're going to do it anyway. Leave them alone, right? So, but whenever you feel like you're digging your heels into the ground, like you're becoming stubborn, before you go any further, ask yourself, could I potentially be wrong? Or are there multiple ways of being right? Maybe my way is right, but there's another right as well. Because do you think your significant other woke up in the morning and said, hey, how am I going to make the other person's life really miserable today? Or I need to find a way to be argumentative today. I need to find something to disagree on. Some people love to do life just by disagreeing. Like, I disagree, therefore I am kind of thing. But that's a whole other topic. So consider being flexible if you feel like you're digging your heels into the ground and you could potentially actually be wrong. You could be wrong. Remember, when you're not in a relationship, there's less people to challenge you. So you're not used to being challenged. You just kind of do life. Like before I was in a relationship, I'd wake up and I literally would do whatever I want. Whatever I want. I'm going to go to work. I'm going to wake up 5 minutes later, 5 minutes earlier, 30, nothing, I do whatever I want. But then I'm in a relationship and my alarm, if I snooze it and it goes again, now I'm going to wake up my wife. And she's not okay with that. She's going to challenge me. But maybe the issue is that my sleep hygiene isn't that good. I don't sleep well. I need to figure my life out. Sleep early, wake up on time, whatever it is. But there's no one to challenge you when you're not in a relationship. So get used to being challenged, being confronted, facing your own opinions. You should also consider being flexible when you're not sure if the issue is a true issue or if it's just that you didn't expect something, which I covered with an example earlier, okay? So is this really a true issue, is this a real red flag, or is it something that I need to adjust? If you are generally anxious, worried, and rigid, yeah. If you are the type, by the way, type is not, I'm not saying in a permanent way. I'm not saying you're the permanent type. I'm just saying if you're currently the type to be anxious a lot, worried, rigid a lot, basically be flexible. Okay, let's just be more flexible, okay? A lot of people are like that, right? By the way, usually what happens is on average, women seem to be more anxious on average, right? Men, though, actually the problem with men is that their anxiety is kind of like hidden behind either aggression or like this kind of like a very low level of emotional expression. Like men on average are not expressing themselves emotionally anyway, which is something we need to fix because then you get into a relationship and then you have kids and you're just like, you're shot. You're not even working. You're not functioning. Like there's emotions going around everywhere and you're just like a machine, right? But women on average though, it's like, oh, let's go to brunch. They just go to brunch all the time. I'm just kidding, but they're just always meeting up and chatting about emotional things. It's too, like, and sometimes it's too much, regardless of if it's edifying or not. Like, they're just chatting, sharing, emotional transactions all the time, right? So, but if you're anxious, which applies to men and women, worried or rigid, you should consider being more flexible. If the difference is because you need to overcome some emotional problem or a character flaw. Like if you're insecure and your spouse doesn't, and your significant other doesn't affirm you enough, who needs to change? What do you think? Yeah, exactly. Someone did answer the question, which was very silent. They just pointed at themselves. But if you're insecure and you feel like I'm not getting enough affirmation from my significant other, who needs to change? I would first say, as I have been saying, start with the change in you. You need to become more secure. Your significant other cannot be burdened with filling these gaps in your heart. They're not Jesus, right? But then, of course, you could request, hey, it would, and imagine a conversation like this. It doesn't usually happen this way. But you can say, hey, I realize I really appreciate it when you give me some affirmations. Could you do more of that? I really enjoy it. That's it. But what usually happens is, you know what? You don't love me, you know? Like, you know, if you loved me, you would this and you would say that. And what's, like, you know, do you see that couple over there, what they do? They're, like, always affirming each other. People don't say the word affirming. But they're always complimenting each other and all that stuff, right? That's what ends up happening, accusing and blaming. If you haven't given it a chance at all, like, sometimes I want to just tell you, postpone judgment. Postpone judgment. Do not rush to judge that something is good or bad if you're not sure. Just wait. Give it a chance. See what's going on. if your team is telling you that it's probably not an issue. So, how to learn about the other person, okay? Yeah, absolutely, yeah. No, we're good, we're good. Oh, thanks so much. That's so affirming. Like that? That's good, right? See? I'm a words of affirmation person, so. How to learn about the other person. I'm gonna just, the next, it's just 3 more slides. They're a lot simpler, okay? How to learn about the other person. Obviously, spend time together. By the way, if it's long distance, it's gonna be harder, right? But that means you gotta work harder. You gotta work harder. You gotta work harder, okay? You gotta work harder. And then you add on top of it the time zone differences. If there are any, forget about it. It's gonna be crazy. But you gotta spend time together. Excuse me. Balance between fun time and time spent consciously and intentionally learning about their character. You see, let me just, before I say what I'm gonna say, I'm gonna take a sip of water. So. Thank you. So, you see, in dating, it's so nice to have so much fun. Like, I'm not trying to take that away from you, okay? Like I miss that period because after you get married, it takes more work to have fun. Because, you know, when you're dating, basically you're like what you're doing is like planning the next time you're gonna meet, and then you meet, and you've already prepared for a fun time when you meet, right? Do you guys get what I'm saying? And then when you're done, a lot of times you go your separate ways and you're back to your routines. So like 90% of the time you're together, you're doing fun stuff. But you're only spending, 10 hours a week together, maybe, if even. But then you get married and you're spending all this time together, and then you got chores. You got bills, you gotta look through the mail. You just wake up every day and go to work. You're next to each other. So there's a lot of aspects about married life that are actually very boring. And so what I'm trying to say is that you're next to each other all the time. You're under the same roof. You do talk to each other. You do things together. But are you actually connecting? You're not. So I'm not trying to take the fun of this time away from you. I want you to enjoy it as much as possible in the healthiest ways possible. At the same time, I want to tell you, the time you're spending with each other cannot be just fun. Like, it can't just be going from one outing to the next hangout, to the next experience, spending money, doing this, whatever. Those are all good and necessary, I would say. But you also need to be consciously and intentionally learning about the other person's character. Who are they? What do they stand for? How do they operate? Because those things are also very important. And the fun comes and goes. There are periods in life that for months, at least weeks, that are just gonna be no fun. No fun for like weeks. It's just life. It's just life. You got a long life, decades. It's decades, so you have time. So it's not that bad. It's not bad. But the fun has to be there, and so does the actual learning about the person. Very, very important. I'm going to tell you some ways to do that later, but I'm just telling you like the general goals or objectives. Experience different social settings together, like not just one-on-one time. Like some people, they just do one-on-one time, and then 4 or 5 months later, they start meeting friends, each other's friends, and they're like, whoa, like, what are these people? Where did you find them? And what's going on here, right? And then you're like, wait, if that's his friends, what does that say about him? If those are her friends, what does it say about her? And you're all just confused now. You don't get it. And then you're like, wait, if those are her friends, does that mean I have to be her friends' friends, those people's friends too? That's so weird. I don't want to be their friends. They're not nice or whatever. I was gonna say it was something else. But experience different social settings together. Discuss plans and ambitions and dreams. What do you want in your life? What if you find out after you get married, that one of you actually has a dream to go serve in Kenya for 6 years? I would really hope you find that out before you get married. Not like the night of your honeymoon or something, the first night of your honeymoon or something like that, right? Like, and that's a crazy example. But there's lots of these things. Like you got to talk about your ambitions and plans. Enjoy different experiences together. Consult your team regularly, including praying for God's continuous guidance. And I want to tell you this, be careful with physical intimacy. I know that's like I'm not, listen, in this talk, I am not getting into specifics on that. Because everybody wants to know, what exactly do you mean? What's that? Can I, make eye contact? Can I, what if I sit next to her and our shoulders touch? Like, all that, or can we have sex? Just don't have sex, please. But everyone wants to ask all this stuff, and that's not what I'm trying to do here. And also because I'll probably get myself in trouble, but with someone. Like, someone's going to be upset with me if I get too specific. But that's not the point. The point, first of all, I just want to tell you in general with this topic, the most important thing is God cares about your heart, right? Because Jesus said, whoever looks at a woman lustfully has committed adultery with her in his heart. And this doesn't just apply to men looking at women, right? It applies, the first thing that matters is your heart. Is there lust? Lust means that you want to consume something for your own satisfaction, your own pleasure. What's in your heart? But I also need to add this very important thing, because physical intimacy is not just a heart thing. It's also a physical thing. I don't know how high of a level to start, but let's just start at the highest level, which is God gave you, your minds, your bodies, your hearts, the ability to experience a lot of great pleasure when you connect with someone physically. It's coded in you. It's like it's part of who you are. The reality is, though, is that just like with many other things, when you do the right thing at the wrong time, it's the wrong thing. Sex and a lot of physical things that are sexual are very powerful because God made them that way. And if you engage in these things too early, what they're going to do is they're going to make you feel closer than you actually are. That's the point. You feel closer than you actually are. You don't know anything about this person's character, but you feel so close because you're touching each other so much physical contact. And I want to tell you a real life story. This person is not a Christian that I'm telling you about, but it's a real story. This guy, he was one of my clients. We've probably been meeting for 1, 2, 3 years by then at that time. And he said, we were just talking about his dating situation, what he's trying to do, who he's interested in. We're talking about a lot of family and all these other things too. But then he's like, I met this girl. She's cool, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, cool. For me, in my own head, I'm kind of happy that he's just building momentum in this area of his life. But you know what? When you're not you see, a lot of us take for granted that this is the pool we choose from. Not just whoever's in this church, but we have a community. There's a lot of similarities that are already covered because we're kind of choosing from a pool like ours, like an ethnic pool and a religious pool. But out there in the world, it's a lot. There's a lot more variety, right? So but people still want to date. So he found someone who was just the list of differences was unbelievable, right? But they started having sex 3 or 4 days into the relationship. They started having sex. And I remember meeting him within 2 weeks of the relationship starting. And I remember him saying to me, he said, "Hey, Makar, it's good. It's moving so fast. We're talking about our future. We're this and this and that, blah, 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 all this stuff." You just kept saying all this stuff. And then I just started listening. I was like, wait, something is off here. This is moving, where he thinks the relationship is impossible to do in 2 weeks. You can't do that. So in my head I said, they must be doing something really significant physically, something. So I just said, "Oh, are you guys sleeping with each other?" I said it casually, because I know the way we expect that question to come out in a Coptic setting is going to be "Wah!" But it was a client of mine, and that's not how I operate in general anyway. But I said, are you guys sleeping with each other? He said, oh yeah, it's great, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay. And then I didn't want to I'm not trying to, I wasn't there to impose my values. He's not a Christian. It wasn't the right time. But I did say just a general thing that I believe is true and that is true. I said, okay, I'm just letting you know, I'm just telling you from my experience and what I see on average in relationships is that if you're engaging in sex at right now at this stage, it has the potential to make you feel a lot closer than you really are. There's a lot of things you don't really know about each other yet. He said, yeah, sure, and I didn't want to push too hard. I mean, it's a professional relationship. He's not asking me about my value system, but I just said what I could say from a facts perspective, right? I just said what I needed to say. And but I was concerned about him. I was concerned. I remember meeting him 2 weeks later, and he ended the relationship. He ended the relationship. And he said, yeah, I was just learning so many things about her. And he said, you know what, us sleeping with each other just became such a distraction. And now I'm in a place where I could ask some more questions, because before he would be like, why are you asking these questions? But then I was like, oh, because now he started to buy into this point that I was trying to make. He said, so I asked him, I said, who was initiating most of the time? He said, she was. I was like, that's interesting. And I'm like, well, what didn't go well? And he was like, she just had all these different ideas on what she wanted for our lives together. I didn't really agree with her. She was also kind of bisexual. He wasn't sure, but she was only dating men, but calling herself bisexual and all this stuff. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's a good thing to know, at some point. But did you guys get the point that I'm trying to make? You get what I'm saying? Again, I literally started this by saying that God created in you the capacity to enjoy great pleasure with physical touch, physical intimacy. God created that. And when I'm having a full talk about sex, the other things that I start off with is by saying that God invented sex and God commanded sex in marriage. He told Adam and Eve, be fruitful and multiply, meaning have sex. And he created in women an organ called the clitoris that the only function of it is pleasure and sex. It has no other purpose. It doesn't do anything else. So God, not just he invented sex, he commanded sex, he actually makes it that you're supposed to have great pleasure in sex. And remember, sex is not just, sex, intercourse, it's a lot of other things that the world has kind of made it well, technically it's not having sex, so, and now we're just, what are we doing? That's why we also said, check your heart, right? So I'm not trying to give you a whole Sunday school thing and all that stuff. I'm just trying to tell you that physical intimacy by God's design is so powerful, it will make you feel very, very close, and you don't want to feel very, very close if you're not actually very, very close. Okay? You guys got what I'm saying? Is that cool? I did not, up until now, say the word sin, okay? Did I say that? I didn't say it. I could say it, but I didn't say it, all right? Sin. No, just kidding. All right. So, all right. So how do you learn about the other person? All right, so now I want to give you, this is the second to last slide, I want to give you some questions to ask yourself to help determine if it's a good match, right? So the first set of questions I gave you was questions to ask yourself about yourself, because you need the facts about yourself. Now, you need to ask questions about the other person to know if it's a good match. Very simple questions. Do we have fun together? That needs to happen, okay? Is a friendship building? Do we speak frequently? Is this person a standing presence in my life? Some people actually, they say they have a boyfriend or a girlfriend, but they actually don't go to that person, even they're very deep into the relationship time-wise, but they don't go to that person for their life questions or anything. They just keep going to their friends all the time. So it's wait, so what are you doing in this relationship then? What's actually happening? Do I enjoy speaking with them? Am I physically attracted to them? Very important. Can they challenge me? Do we help each other grow? Not do I change them, but do we help each other grow? Do we disagree in a respectful way? Do I see them as an equal partner? Sometimes, and it's, I don't mean to make generalizations and if this is a generalization, if anyone's bothered by it, you can just forget I said it. But, it still does happen a bit in a culture like ours, which is, we come from a patriarchal culture, right? And so there's still some of that in both men's and women's minds that, like, the man knows more, or the man is more capable, or the man is stronger, not physically stronger, but emotionally stronger. And actually, what I want to say is, you definitely have to see each other as equals. You're going to co-lead this life together. And I love to say this. In Proverbs 31, which talks about the virtuous wife. Does everybody know about Proverbs 31? Anybody? Yeah, I got a few nods. Proverbs 31, it's like a part of it. I don't think it's the whole thing. Talks about the virtuous wife, right? But it's really about like a virtuous person, but it's talking about a virtuous wife. One of the things it says about the virtuous wife, it says she considers a field and buys it. Meaning, she's conducting real estate transactions on behalf of the family, okay? That's what she's doing. And it says, and her husband praises her amongst the elders. So her husband trusts her, and she trusts her husband. It's not like this parent-child dynamic. We are co-leading this home. We trust each other, we respect each other, we represent each other. I don't feel like I have to lean on this person 100% of the time. They're not feeling like they can lean on me. We trust each other. You guys get what I'm saying? You're equals, okay? For another example that happens commonly is, I'm just sorry, I don't mean to make anyone seem biased or be partial to any direction, any person. But, sometimes, you have a woman who's got her life put together and everything, and then she sees this guy, she's really interested in them, whatever, in him. And then, but he's like, his life is a mess. And she's like, oh no, I'm gonna take care of him, I'm gonna fix everything, I'm gonna be fine, I love him, he's so cute, and he loves me, and all this stuff. And I'm like, what are you doing? Like you're gonna fix him? Are you gonna employ him? You're gonna give him a job and pay him? Like, no, he needs to go get a job himself, right? He needs to go figure out his life. He can't just be and then you say, oh no, I'm gonna bring him to church. I'm gonna bring him to church. You think you're gonna bring him to church? You're not gonna bring him to church for one time after you get married. You're not gonna bring him to church. You both have to be people who go to church, and then you get together. But it's not you can't be. You're not trying to change the other person, okay? So you're not gonna parent them. You're not gonna save them. You're not gonna fix them, and they're not gonna fix you. They're not gonna save you. They're not gonna parent you, okay? Are we aligned on core values? Family, God, alcohol and drug use, politics, professional ambition, growth orientation, friendships. Let me just explain some of these things. Growth orientation is very important. One of the most frustrating things to deal with people is when they have no interest in growing. When they have no interest in growing. It's like, then why are we even talking? Why are we even talking if you have no interest in growing? I'm just telling you, and I'm saying this because I love all of you so much, all right? And you all have, I'm not saying this applies to everyone, but I love you all so much, and I need you to do this, what I'm saying, okay? Do you even care about growing? Do you think about growing? And is that part of who you are? Like, you want to be a better person tomorrow? Is that something that you think about? Or you're just trying to get through tomorrow? Sometimes we're in difficult periods of our lives where you're just trying to survive. But is your whole life that way, where you're like, oh, I'm just trying to survive, and that's basically what you're thinking all day, every day? What are you working on? Like, what are you pursuing now? Anything. Something health-related, career-related, spiritual-related, social-related, anything. What are you pursuing? Some of us are pursuing nothing. Maybe you're not pursuing anything, maybe because you're depressed. I'm not saying you are. If you're pursuing nothing, you are depressed. But maybe you are. You have no motivation. Maybe you're not pursuing anything because your life is so convenient and comfortable. Maybe you're not pursuing anything because your parents were always telling you what to do, so you never learned to have a voice towards yourself. You don't know how to tell yourself, hey, I need to get up and do something. You don't know how to do that. You're just waiting for someone to tell you what to do. But now you're an adult and there's no one to tell you what to do, so you don't do anything. You just do the job you had before you left your parents' house. That's what growth orientation means. Because when you get married and there's problems that require you to grow, and you don't have a growth orientation, we got like 6 to 12 months of work we got to do before you get to fix the problem. Does that make sense, what I'm trying to say? Okay. All right. The point about family is important because, some of us, a big part of our social life is with family. But that's not the way it is for everyone, okay? It's very important. So you get into a relationship with someone else, and they're like, oh, like, what are you going to do this weekend? What you were going to do that weekend was you were going to go spend time with your parents and your siblings. That's what you were going to do. And they're like, oh, I was going to go run this errand. I was going to relax. I was going to, read or whatever, take a trip. And you're like, wait, but then I'm not going to see my parents for a whole week? And it's like, what do we do? So you have to discuss these things. Are you aligned on that value, like on these things? How are you going to manage that? By the way, I just want to give you a healthy expectation for married life. Something has to give when you get married. What I mean is that you're going to have to reduce time with a lot of people because married life takes a lot of work, a lot of time. I'm not saying bad work you don't want to do, work that's annoying. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying you kind of do have to spend time with your spouse. So that there's only 24 hours in a day. That's not changing. So you have to give up some from some relationships, including family, okay? And then, I think that covers all those points. All right, so I want to give you some tips and take questions. Ask your significant other good questions. Ask good questions. Not like, hey, what do you want to eat today? No, like, hey, tell me, like, what's one of the best memories you had growing up in your family? And once they start explaining that, they're going to probably mention someone in their family. Ask a follow-up question about that person in their family, right? Do you guys get what I'm saying? Remember I told you, you can have fun, but also have conscious, intentional time getting to know each other. Ask good questions. Reflect often about how the relationship is going. Not necessarily, it's very healthy, by the way, a few months into a relationship, maybe like 2 months in, to talk every like 2 to 4 weeks or 2 to 3 weeks with each other and say, hey, how do you feel like this relationship is going? But you should be asking yourself that question like once every week at least. How do I feel this relationship is going? I'm not saying you need to have some elaborate answer to yourself. With each other, you should talk more. But with yourself, you just need to check in with yourself. Consult your team. I told you all that. Consult your team. You take initiative and consult your team. Create initiative in creating your team, initiative in consulting your team. Don't overhype anyone. Okay, you want me to tell you the worst, most embarrassing story? All right, I'll tell you about myself. I was so dumb. So I remember when I was single, it was many years ago, probably maybe 20, not 20, but maybe like 18 years ago or something. I was like trying to just meet girls. I was trying to meet people. I was single. So I was like, what I'm gonna do, I found, for me, Archie's laughing, he goes, this is great. This is why this is why we don't do nice things. We don't get nice things because of Archie. No. So I remember I was like, you know what? Where am I going to meet a great girl? You know where I decided to go? I mean, I went to a lot of places that were good places. But then I went to a hymns convention, right? I was like, I'm going to meet like the best girl there, whatever, right? So I go to this hymns convention. People are like, Ibrahim, I had this coming, bro. Back then, now he comes to the U.S. a lot because he has family in the U.S., but back then he didn't. So him coming to the U.S. was a big deal. So I was like, I'm going to go to a hymns convention. And I saw some girls there, and she's like, oh, Makar, can you teach me how to play the cymbals? And I was like, she must be a great girl. She wants me to teach her how to play the cymbals. That means she's great. That means she's amazing. That means she loves Jesus. And what? She's at a hymns convention? Blah, 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 all this stuff. And in my head, I started hyping her up. I was like, she's amazing. All this stuff. I didn't know anything about her. Nothing, right? So don't hype anyone up that you don't know anything about. Don't. Like, we're all just broken people. We're all just human beings. You never want to feel like you don't want to be distracted from the work that you need to do because you're hyping up someone so much, okay? You guys get what I'm saying? I can't believe I even did that in my life. I did even crazier things. So, like things that I'm telling you to not do now in your lives. Expect to learn about life, about yourself, life, relationships, and God, okay? Expect to learn a lot about yourself, life, relationships, and God. Trust your gut, okay? All right, that's the end of the prepared material. Any questions, comments, concerns, disagreements? All right, I don't know who raised their hand first, but let me take this one, then this one. Go ahead. The one I just had? Oh, the flexibility one? Yeah. Sure. This one?
Yeah, that's a great slide, whether you're in a relationship or just general in life. But
thank you. Your affirmations are like beautiful today. They are. I'm floating. You can't see my feet, but I'm not even touching the ground right now.
I hope your wife is not watching this stream. I hope your wife. But I guess my question to you is, how flexible do you go before you feel like you're getting like someone's walking over you? Because it's a great point, right? Because I'm thinking to myself, okay, like when I'm firm in my grounds, that's a great way to me to be flexible. I love that. But it's like, how do I be like firm in my ground to show them like, hey, I don't want you crossing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, a few things. I mean, like, definitely, we're not. There's two parts to this answer. We're a mature group, so we're going to go in a little bit of detail. There's two parts of this. One is, what do you acknowledge within yourself? And two is, what do you do? Okay? Do not compromise your own values. Like, the actual true good things. Like, for example, if you disagree with something and she just says, oh, you're an idiot. She just says that, oh, you're an idiot. You know? Or you get into a fight and she's like, why are you saying such stupid things? What if she just says that to you? You know? So I'll tell you a way to handle it. In your own mind, you need to make a note. Say to yourself, this is like for sure wrong. It's not about flexibility in my own understanding of what's going on. It's not right for us to disrespect each other. That's not right. But now you have to decide, what are you going to do? What if, just hypothetically, this is the first time it ever happened, and it was like a really extreme situation. Like she was not doing well at all. Like maybe like she experienced the greatest loss, worst thing happened, whatever. And she said something like that. I would encourage you, if I was on your team, to say, hey, you know what? Just make a mental note. You don't have to do anything about it right now. Like, but don't be flexible in your understanding. Like in your mind, it's okay to say this was disrespectful, right? But what do? You have to think about that too. Now, but what if you're being walked all over, like you're saying like, oh, hey, yeah, then you have to find a way to bring it up. Like first you have to judge, is this something I can cope with and live with, or not?
I'll have a mental note in my head, right? I'm not going to step over, but once you do kind of have that talk where like, okay, I'm going to go overboard, Amir's a bad person. Now look what he just did. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, but
because you let them get to that point where you're just quiet, you took the mental note, right? But then once you're like, okay, this is way too much, I need to now draw my line, it's like, oh, Amir's a bad guy, now look what he just did,
No. Listen, let them think whatever they want to think. If you are articulating and enforcing healthy boundaries, you're about to learn something about them. And you're going to learn something about yourself. If you say, hey, I wanted to talk about something, and you say it in the right way at the right time. You're not going to do this in the heat of the moment. You're going to say, hey, I wanted to talk about something. I know it's not something that's going on right now, but it's something I've been thinking about, and it's really important to me. And then you say, is it okay if we talk about it now? And make sure you have some time, because you don't want to do like a one-sided thing where you only have 10 minutes, so you say your side and they don't have time to respond, right? And then you say, hey, in some of our last discussions, there was something that happened that's really been bothering me. You have been saying some things that are kind of like labels about me, like calling me an idiot or whatever, and I felt very disrespected. And so I don't know if you noticed that you were doing that, but I just want to tell you that I wanted to request that we don't do that with each other at all, ever. Full stop. And now you're about to learn something. You already learned something because for many of us, even doing what I just said takes work. So you learn something about yourself and by the way, if you're reluctant to do that, and because sometimes the reason why we don't want to do that conversation is because we're afraid of losing love. So you don't want to set a boundary because you're afraid of losing love from others. Because maybe your parents did that to you when you were younger or something. But the other thing is, you have to learn how to set a boundary like that in a very respectful, matter-of-fact way. Also consider if you need to ask questions to clarify things that were going on for the other person. But benefit of the doubt, but matter-of-fact way. Now you're about to learn something about them. What if you say that and then she becomes defensive? She says, no, I didn't. I didn't. That's not what happened. I don't know, or just chill out. Like it was not that big of a deal. Invalidating your emotions. So you're about to learn something. Or what if she says, you know what, you're mean? What if she says, oh, you're being a bad guy? You're learning something too. So, but can you imagine a life where you can't do what we're talking about? It's a miserable life. It's a miserable, miserable life, like a terrible life. I work with couples like this, like they're 20 years in, and they're not able to like negotiate and set boundaries and talk about this stuff. So, if you've been letting...
I would say that's probably the hardest part in your relationship.
What?
That healthy flexibility.
Yeah. Because it's not black and white, and you need a team, and every situation is different. And you haven't told me much about the other person. I don't know you well, so there's a lot of things are very case by case. But can you live the rest of your life being called an idiot? Probably not. Probably not. You're going to withdraw in 10 different ways if you keep swallowing it. So you have to learn how to say something and see what happens.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Great question, yeah. Oh, there was a question here, the gentleman with the striped shirt, yeah.
Did you ever teach her how to play the cymbals?
No, I think I tried, but it just ran out of time. Maybe God wasn't making that work, yeah. But I still love to play the cymbals. So. Wait, that was it? That was the deep question you had? Oh, dude, that was so deep, man. That was great. Thank you so much. Any other questions, comments, concerns, disagreements? Yes?
So we all have flaws. We all have flaws, so should we always change them, like all of them, before we get into a relationship? Or should we get in with that flaw and then change them along the way?
Yeah, I mean, you will never, I'll just tell you a very simple thing, and this might be a little disheartening. You will never not have flaws. So, but that's why this growth orientation is very important, that you have to be a person, like as St. Paul says, going from glory to glory, right? And he says till we reach till we come to the measure of the full stature of Christ. Like we are gradually trying to grow and get better and better and better. If it's a value of yours to grow, that's critical. If you've started growth on the main character flaws, then that's very good. But then you're going to find out, because it also matters who the other person is. The other person, and this is a difficult reality, by the way. The other person, because they're not Jesus, different people are going to have different capacities to be able to cope with your flaws. Like someone, I could probably deal, because I work so hard on myself, I could deal with a lot of flaws, just deal with them. But there was a time in my life when I couldn't, and I was very judgmental, very harsh, and I didn't respond well. So the person you end up with, and this is what we're all trying to figure out when we're trying to date, is you're trying to find out who is compatible with my flaws and my strengths, right? Because I have flaws and I'm never not going to have flaws. Also, are they a person who in their character has mercy, compassion, grace, right? Are they kind? Are they forgiving? Because I am going to mess up. And so that's something you're looking for too. But like, it's not going to work if that person is merciful, kind, compassionate, all that stuff, and you're not working on your flaws. Like, because what we all need to do, but we're now getting into a whole other topic, but what we all need to do is be very quick to apologize, quick to say when we're wrong, give the benefit of the doubt, seek to understand before demanding to be understood. Like, all of these things are very, very important, right? And so your team will tell you, and maybe your relationship will tell you, if there's a flaw that is not compatible with married life. Because there are some. And yeah, but so, I mean, if you guys want to have like there are talks about like red flags in relationships, and you know, what and I think it should have been talked about like in the Am I Ready to Date talk. Those probably was covered there, yeah. Does it answer your question?
Yes.
You
thank
sure?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Good question.
I mean,
Great.
I would love to know more about like what flaws exactly, but yeah, that could be like a lot of different topic.
Yeah. I mean, I think like, you know, probably poor emotional intelligence is important. Not coming to terms with God is important. Not having good work ethic, like independent work ethic. Not being an independent critical thinker. Like, if you're not able to stand on your own 2 feet, do life independently on all dimensions, physical, emotional, spiritual, social, relational, financial, professional. Like, all these things. If you're not able to do life independently and think critically, that's a big red flag. If you don't have good emotional intelligence, it's a major red flag. If you have struggled with some significant emotional issues, if you're addicted to like something, if you have a major addiction, those are things that are major red flags. If you have an unmanaged mental health disorder, if you have not come to terms with God, like, what is the deal with him? That's also another issue. So those are probably the big ones. I mean, there's a lot of smaller ones like selfishness and some other things, but those are the big ones. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Oh, there's all, yeah. Let's do this brother here, yeah. Thanks.
So I think it was interesting when you linked changing and growing, because there's a difference where I'm growing and I'm changing for this person. And there's always that thinking of, am I supposed actually to change for that person, or that person accept me as is?
Yeah. In
so
general,
when you put it as growth,
yeah. Sorry, keep going.
that when you put it as growth, you made me look at it differently, because growing is actually a positive thing.
Yeah.
But when you say, are you going to accept me as is, or I'm supposed to actually to change for you?
Yeah. You know, the standard that my wife has for me must be lower than the standard I have for myself. Like, I need to have higher standards for myself. You know, like, and so, because I'm not waiting for her to tell me that I'm messed up, right? She will probably tell me if I'm messed up in something, but I'm not waiting for that. I need to be living the life of repentance, which involves reviewing myself often, right? Always. And that includes just even in your prayers, like just in your prayers, say, God, is there anything in me that you want to change? Is there something that needs to be corrected? Is there any obstacle something in me that's an obstacle to your work in my life? Am I preventing you from doing what you want to do in my life? That's how you have to be thinking and praying. So, do all things unto Christ. What I mean is that if you're going to change or grow, you're doing it for Christ and for yourself. Like, you're just doing it to honor God. But there are some like small changes you would do for the other person, but they're not like character changes necessarily. It's more of like, you know, the thermostat at night, you know, kind of thing. You know, it's like, those are fine. Like, you're going to have to compromise. But your relationship, I say this in pre-marriage talks, is God uses marriage to perfect you and reveal himself to you. So marriage is like a mirror. It's like all of a sudden, you used to have a bad temper and no one was saying anything to you. But now you're married, your spouse is so hurt by your temper. And you're like, wait, what's wrong? Then you say, what's wrong with you? Nobody ever gave me this feedback before. Why are you so sensitive? Well, that's because they can't get away from you. And there's no power difference. With your parents, you could yell at them all you want, but they're still going to be your parents. They're still going to be like, we brought you into this world, get out of my face. And you're going to come back anyway, you know? But your spouse, there's no power difference. And they're going to have to live with you. And so, and there's no other relationship like that. So you affect each other in a way that no one else affects you in, both of you in. Like, so of course they're going to see things in you that no one else does. Maybe you never saw in yourself. But God is using marriage to perfect you and to reveal himself to you. And that's what you have to say to yourself. Like, when you're in this is good for life, but especially in marriage, when you're in one of these situations, and like an argument or something, I pray that we are all wise enough to say, even if we really believe we're right, just say, God, please, if I'm wrong, help me to find that out. Like, I need to know, God. I don't know. And I need you to not let my ego and my pride get in the way. Are you trying to show me something about myself? Sometimes, we're very out of the topic. Sometimes what God is trying to teach you is to enlarge your heart. Which is maybe like, because remember, a lot of the questions that people are asking have to do with my spouse accommodating me. Those are the questions I'm getting. But there is a very important question of, how about me accommodating my spouse, you know? Like, and remember, we were just saying, I have my flaws, but they're gonna have their flaws too. And I have to accommodate them in some way, like, because we're all accommodating each other. So yeah, I mean, even if your marriage reveals to you something you need to change in yourself, tell yourself, I'm gonna do this for Christ. I'm gonna do this for myself. I'm not doing this for my spouse. Does that answer your question? Yeah, thank you. Great point, thank you. Yes?
So how do you deal with a partner or someone that you're hopefully be a partner, that their friends or families are kind of influencing the relationship?
Yeah, that's a very difficult thing.
And then once you tell them, hey, hey, this ex-person or whatever is influencing a relationship, they're like, nope, they're denying it, and they get like very defensive.
Yeah. So remember, like, you're never gonna find a perfect person, right? So everything has to be considered in that context, right? Like, you find a set of flaws in this person and strengths, you're gonna find a different set of flaws and strengths in another person. And you have your own flaws and strengths, okay? So you're always trying to assess compatibility. You're not trying to assess for perfection, right? So this is a very sensitive issue, because you're seeing someone who maybe for the last 20, 30 years has had this community that's been partnered with them and moving with them in their decisions, in their life and everything. And here you come, and you're a few months in, and you're trying to say, well, maybe you're overly influenced by these people. And usually when you feel that is when you're hurt or offended. So usually when couples get into a situation, the way they bring it up is in a very critical way. They're critical of the significant other, and they're critical of the people they believe are influencing the significant other. So what I want to encourage you to do, first of all, definitely talk with your team about this, right? Definitely talk with your team about this. Ask yourself if there's another way of thinking about it. Because just because you're influenced by others doesn't mean the influence is bad, right? Let me just say that again. Just because you're influenced by others doesn't mean the influence is bad. We all need support systems. Like, I am influenced by people, and I actually seek out to be influenced by them, right? So, but then you could say, hey, just a little script again, like, hey, want to talk about something, I'm not sure how to actually say it, and I know there's a lot I don't understand, and I'm still learning about you, and I'm learning about a lot of things. It seems to me, but I could be really wrong, I'm not sure if I'm right, but it seems to me that, like, sometimes when we're discussing things, I feel like maybe you don't own or didn't originate some of these ideas that you have, and I'm not actually talking with you, I'm talking with, like, others that are feeding into your perspectives. And you can even say, hey, I don't even know how to phrase this right, so I'm not trying to be offensive. I'm just trying to understand you better. That's it. Then full stop, pause, right? Let her respond. See what she says. And then you got to start making your mental notes, and you got to see, is this something, because you see, let me say one other thing, another difficult thing to accept in life. We all have our list of things we need to grow in. We all have lists. But everyone's going to have a different opinion on what to prioritize on that list. Like, maybe you're going to say, hey, what you need to prioritize is having your own thoughts and not being overly influenced by your mom, right? And she's going to say, well, hey, what I want to prioritize is studying for my exams. I need to do that because the exam is next week. Can I study, please? And who's right, who's wrong? You know, she has her priorities. And you're not, boundaries work in both directions, right? So you need to say to yourself, you know what, I gotta respect, this is the reality I'm in. Am I able to live with this or not? And if not, then get out. There's nothing you could do. You're not gonna make her you're not gonna make her aware of her flaws. You're not gonna make her embrace it. You're not gonna make her prioritize it. You're not gonna change how she deals with it. You're not gonna change her support system. What you see is what you get.
Well, let me play the devil's advocate. So
Yeah.
this is the follow-up to the first question I said,
Sure.
right? Because now you're flexible, right? But it comes to a point you're like, hey, this person or that person now is playing a role in this relationship, right? And it explodes, right? And then now it's like, okay, it's that person or this person or us.
You don't have to say it that way.
But that, I mean, it comes to a point, like you said, it's very sensitive. It comes to a point now, right? They're going to have to choose, right?
They are going to have to choose, and you're going to have to choose.
So then how do you, that's what I'm saying, how do you approach that part now?
Just say, hey, I'm realizing, I know we discussed this a few times, and maybe I'm wrong. I don't know what's in your heart and what's actually going on, but I'm not seeing that this is changing, and I don't think I can accept things the way they are. And then that's it. Like, you have to respect yourself. You have to respect yourself. And if you're, by the way, the big caveat or disclaimer here is you are consulting with your team, right? Because like we're talking kind of generally right now, and so I don't know what you've tried and haven't tried, what she said, what didn't say, all that stuff. So, one of the hardest things to do is to accept that something that needs to change in someone else is not happening, and it's not going to happen. And there's a very important word here, which we don't talk about almost ever in church, is grieving. Like, you have to grieve. That means there's something lost. You're going to lose the relationship. It could have otherwise been a really good opportunity, but it's lost. It's an opportunity that's lost. And you could even be sad for them because they are not growing. Sometimes a relationship ends, and you're just sad for them. And I hear this sometimes, they're like, but then they're never going to get better. And I'm like, yeah, they might not. But that's not on you to change them. And so that's reality.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, it's sensitive.
It's so sensitive.
But yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Yes, yes.
I know this is probably like highly situational, but like when you're getting to know the facts and you're dating someone and you find out there's a lot of like big differences, maybe like undealt trauma or like baggage, do you have a framework for when to know like, do we keep working on this and like try to make it work, or there's too much and you move on and you don't keep going?
Yeah, consult your team and check your gut very often and pray. Don't drive yourself crazy trying to make the perfect decision. You have to have faith that if you're praying, you're consulting your team, that God is working in those means. Also, let me just ask you, it's somewhat of a rhetorical question, but if you're just like, every time you spend time together, you're feeling off, you're feeling uncomfortable, you're like, you don't know what you're gonna do, you're kind of lost, you're confused, you're concerned, you're like kind of sad, but also happy at the same time, that's not a way to do life. And again, I know it might seem harsh, but because then you'll say, but it's not their fault. So it's not their fault. They went through a very traumatic experience. Some people, they have the capacity to deal with that. Like I know a couple, the guy married his girlfriend and now wife. She had like a very severe health issue. And so it's a lot of work. Like, you know, the wife is in pain a lot. He has to help her a lot. It's a lot. And actually, it's pretty, you know, if you just put all the romance and fantasy and movies and stuff aside, it's not anyone that could handle that situation. But he's handling it. He's actually, and he's doing an amazing job, you know? But God is not trying to get you into a bad marriage. Like, that's not what God's trying to, we're not trying to test how strong you are. Like, it's not supposed to be like that. Like, hey, let's find the worst person or the most difficult set of circumstances and go date that person. Because I remember my father of confession used to say, if marrying people was the way to bring them closer to Christ and make them better and heal them, he said I would be married to everyone, you know? But that's not what we're trying to do here. And plus, it's already kind of unhealthy to think of yourself as coming in to save them. So like, pray, team, gut. And the gut piece is really important, yeah. Does that answer your question? Yeah, great question, yeah. Yes, wait, where's the mic, by the way? Oh, you have it? Okay. Okay, you have the mic too. Okay. And then there's a question up here? Okay, cool. All right, there's one more there, and then we'll go up here. Yep.
How could you tell the difference between love bombing and healthy affection?
Yeah, I haven't had to deal with that phrase in a while, love bombing. So I think probably the main thing to think about is, are we actually getting closer? Like, are we actually learning more about each other? That's the thing. By the way, like, love bombing, I would probably put it in the same category as, you know, everything I just said about physical intimacy, like how it's like, it's good, physical intimacy is good, but, you know, in general, as a general in and of itself, but if you do it the wrong way, the wrong time, all that stuff, it could be bad. And it distracts you from the growth that you need to be doing in the relationship. And then I later said that you're supposed to be consciously and intentionally making efforts to learn about each other. They learn about their character. Love bombing is kind of like the physical intimacy point. You can just be love bombing so much, and then you're like, wait, like, this feels really good, but am I actually learning about their character? Are we going through different seasons? Are we having different experiences? Am I meeting their friends? Are we answering real questions? Do I feel respected or not? So, but I mean, I think that's probably the best way to think about it, yeah. Does that answer your question? Yeah? You sure? Okay, all right, I got 3 nods, but you can say, if you don't, it's fine. Just part of the challenge, by the way, is you can't really tell someone that exactly that too much affection is bad. Like if someone keeps saying, oh, I love you, oh, you're amazing, you're great, you know, great job on this, or they're buying you gifts, what's too much? Like, it's not too much or too little on that. It's whether you're doing the things you should be doing, right? Yes.
Okay, hi.
Hi.
So you mentioned in the beginning when you were talking about the team that you said like a therapist is optional. So were you talking about like a couples therapist or like just an individual therapist for you?
Yeah, it doesn't, in that context, because I was saying your team as your individual team, it could be an individual or a couples therapist. Like, just someone who's able to basically work with you. It doesn't, because there's actually like a whole range of, like couples therapists are trained to work with individuals too. So it's like, there's a whole range of people in that category of counselor or therapist that works. So it doesn't matter if it's someone who's trained to work with couples or not. It's just more that someone who's able to work with you well. If you want me to give you like a general recommendation, but please, like, I'm just putting this out there just because it's somewhat helpful, but it's not required to be this way, which is, I would encourage like someone who is trained to work with couples and a Christian. That's what I would encourage. But honestly, like, please, to find someone like that might be so hard. So I would rather you just get a good therapist. Just someone that you feel like you have a good flow with, and they're challenging you, and at least they're able to work within your value system, and your Christian worldview. Because there are some therapists out there, a lot of therapists, that they have their own agendas, and so I know someone, their therapist is just like, yeah, just divorce her, like just get a divorce, and it happened that therapist also was divorced. And so, are those two correlated? I don't know in that specific situation, but I've heard a lot of that, before. There's therapists who have different views on like masturbation and pornography, and it's just you want to be careful that someone isn't imposing their worldview on you. Like, they have to work within yours. You kind of skip over that problem a lot if you already find someone who has the same worldview as you. So, but I want you to get the help. Like, yeah. You have a follow-up question?
Follow-up
question?
Yeah. What insurance do you take?
What insurance? No. Yeah. So I don't personally take insurance, but because I didn't choose to get a license in California, so I work as a couple and life coach. So I don't take insurance. I don't have any openings right now, but I would, if anyone just wants to have like a one-off conversation, I'll do that. It's no problem. So I know it's a little hard to draw the line between service and work, but I'm available for one-off conversations anytime, as much as God allows. So if anyone just wants to chat, we could do that. It's okay. It's all service. So yeah. Was there another question? I thought I saw. Oh yeah. Go ahead. Yeah.
So how do you know that you are 100% ready to date, or you give it a chance when someone good comes into your way?
100. What was the first part? 100% ready to date, you said?
Yes, okay, do you have to be 100% ready to date, or you give it a chance when someone?
Yeah, the thing is, this 100%. When I hear 100%, sometimes I hear perfection. So, you're not going to be perfect, right? And you're ready for all things, and you're ready for anything that a dating situation throws at you. I think in general, if your team is encouraging you and say, yeah, you can even just ask them, do you think I'm ready to date? And you can just ask them that question. And but you're going to become more and more ready to be dating as you date, but there are some minimum things which were discussed in the last talk. In general, I would say, especially on average, I'm just saying on average, so don't get upset with me if you're not in the average, but to women, I would encourage you to give guys a chance. I'm not saying give everyone a chance. I didn't say which ones, don't, whatever. But I'm just saying on average, because what I am finding is just, there's a lot of just a lot of reluctance and hesitation. A lot, just kind of waiting for a very specific idea to come. And, you're just kind of hanging around waiting, right? But, and also, I don't know if we talked in this series about dating mechanics, what do you actually do? Maybe we should add that another time, how do you ask someone out? You talked about all that? Okay, good, all right, good. So, but I think if you're being approached and you don't have a real reason to say no, I encourage you to say yes. If you don't have an actual good reason to say no, say yes. I'm not saying just get married. I'm just saying just go out on a date. Just go out, coffee, walk around somewhere. Just walk around somewhere open, safe, whatever you got to do. Because you also, part of it too is you need to build momentum in this process, right? You need to understand what it's like to be relating to another person, and some of us were so closed off and there's this phrase that we used to say a lot, but we didn't create this term in the Orthodox Church, but it's you used to say guard your heart. We used to just say that, as if there's all these attackers coming for your heart, and you always have to be on guard. And I remember a wise woman said to me, she said, a better way of saying it is to be wise with your heart, not like to guard your heart, right? So just be, I encourage you, if you don't have a real reason to say no, just go ahead. If your team is supportive, go ahead. You're not going to be like 100% ready. You're going to be ready enough. And that's it. Does that answer your question? Yeah? Okay, sure, good. Yeah.
Okay, if those are all the questions we have, thank you,
Thanks.
Makar. That was incredible. But so that concludes our series, our relationship goals series. Again, this is, I'm sure you already know, but it's under RediscoverIAM, which is an incredible, incredible ministry that started probably like 6-7 months ago now. So yeah, if you guys want to help out, host these series often, if you have ideas, come talk to me. Go talk to Marchie also. And yeah, but thank you guys so much for coming. We have food downstairs. Some lovely ladies, one of them being my mom, made it. So it is very, very good. They plan like the whole week and they're so kind. So please, it's there for you. And then please, let's just make sure not to go outside because the neighbors, we always have trouble. So, and then we do have to leave here because some people come and clean. So we'll go downstairs. But thank you, Makar, so much. That was such wisdom. So thank you. Marchie, can we stand up and pray? Yeah.
In the name of the Father, Son, the Holy Spirit, one God, amen. Thank you, dear Lord Jesus, our God, for this time, for giving us a place to gather with you in our midst. Please, God, guide our relationships, our journey in dating and in finding a partner, a life partner that brings us closer to you, helps us to understand our lives better, and helps us in our journey of becoming more like you. Please, God, help us with all the complicated and complex situations that we might find ourselves in. Give us wisdom and grace and help us to manage our emotions. Please, God, bless our team, our support system, and provide people for us to guide us and help us. Through the intercessions of St. Mary, the intercessions of Archangel Michael, and the blessing of the great fast, hear us as we pray together, saying, Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not in temptation, but deliver us from the evil one. Christ Jesus our Lord, for thine is the kingdom, power, and the glory forever.